Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Neha. I make video on tech and my life in the UK. In today's video, we are going to learn about a hook which is useReducer. useReducer hook is very important irrespective of at what career level you are right now in your ReactJS journey. If you are a beginner, you are a junior, senior, or you are an architect, useReducer hook is going to help you a lot because this is related to the state management of your ReactJS application. Before I get into deep dive of useReducer, I would like to say thanks to each and everyone who is liking my content, watching it, commenting on it, and also few of you who are reaching out over DM, LinkedIn, Twitter, and letting me know that how useful my content is for you. This is very motivating. Please keep doing this. Thank you so much from bottom of my heart. So let's start with our useReducer hook. So the first thing is the definition. So what is useReducer is a React hook that lets you add a reducer to your component. We already know what is React hook, but what it is mean that it lets you add a reducer to your component. So for this, we need to understand the reducer part. And for that, we need to understand the ReactJS state management. Now in ReactJS projects or ReactJS, two most important thing is state and props. The state is the backbone of your ReactJS application because this is the data management. In ReactJS, you have two kind of state, which is local and global. For local, we have useState. This local is basically the component level state which we are handling. And by using useState, we can handle it very well. However, whenever we have a lot of state management, useState become messy and it is very hard to manage. And also it is not a proper pattern when it comes to manage or write or design an application which is mid-size to large application where you are doing a lot of state management. So useState has a limitation that after few states you need to find a proper way of handling it. The second thing is this is a local state management. Now whenever you want the state to be accessible across your application, that is known as the global state. And for that, to manage global state, we have a very popular state management library, Redux, and now it is known as Redux Toolkit. So Redux Toolkit is a wrapper around Redux. So to have global state in your ReactJS application, we have state management library Redux. Now with Redux, the thing is that it helps you in doing proper state management with a proper pattern, architect or design. It provides you a proper design that how the state management should happen. But the thing here is that this is not related to ReactJS. What it means is that Redux is an independent third-party library. It can work with React, JavaScript, Angular, Svelte, Vue. It can work with anything. You need to install it in your ReactJS project. You need to learn the syntax, how it works, the principle of Redux. Now, why we are talking about all this? The reason is because to understand useReducer, you need to understand the global state management and Redux, and then you will be able to understand useReducer very well. So that's why we have to talk about this. Now, how React and Redux work? So as I told you that Redux is separate from React. So let's imagine that this is your Redux and this is your ReactJS application. Okay. Now what I want is that whenever in ReactJS application, any change happen, anything happen, it should go to Redux. And once the state is got updated, it should come back to React. Confusing? Yes. Let me take a step back and explain it better. What Redux work on, Redux introduced 4 new concepts. The first is action. The second is dispatch. Third is your reducer. And fourth is your store. Store is your global state application state. What it means is that Redux says that your whole application state should be at one place and we call it store in Redux. So any updation, any editing, any retrieving of the state should happen from the store. Again, this store needs to connect with your Redux because everything is happening in ReactJS and state update and everything should happen in Redux. So this store is sitting here. Now, how from React how this communication will happen in Redux, that state needs to be updated, or we need the state got updated, now let the React component should get updated. For that we have action, dispatch and reducer. So now let's take an example of counter. So in your counter, which is your counter.jsx, this counter is in your ReactJS application, and in this we have increment. So this increment, what it will do is it will increment the state to 1. Okay, this is what we have written in ReactJS. But now because this is related to state, we will move it to the Redux side. So this will be removed from ReactJS. Now the first thing here is that we are doing increment. So any event which is happening in your ReactJS application, which will update, change or has anything to do with your state, is basically known as action. And we need to tell from our ReactJS component to Redux that an action has happened. Something has happened and we need to work on the state. So how we can communicate from React to Redux? We use dispatch keyword. This dispatch keyword accept a object, and in this we have a keyword type and we pass that what kind of event happened. So right now we are doing increment, so we are gonna write increment here. Now if you are gonna do decrement, then you are gonna dispatch decrement here. Okay, and with this we can also pass more information with our type. What it means by more information, for example, if I wanted to pass ID of the button, then there is a keyword payload, and in this we can write ID 1. So with dispatch, we will be dispatching from React component to Redux that this particular event is happening, this action is happening, event basically action. Now how Redux will take care of this? So for that we have reducer. Now what is reducer? I call the brain of the Redux or state management. Basically it's the collection of different functions. So for example, it increment. So we will say what you need to do. You need to do state +1. Function decrement, what you need to do? You need to do state -1. And what it will do is whenever an action will happen, increment or decrement, this particular function, the function related to that action will run, update the state get updated, and what will happen, the related component will get re-rendered in ReactJS. But now the thing is that how these are gonna run. Dispatch has came, but where we are executing it, how we are calling increment and decrement, because we haven't written it anywhere. So the thing with reducer is that this is a switch case. Now this is a JavaScript thing, so if you don't know JavaScript, please learn JavaScript. In switch, we accept state, which is our initial state coming from ReactJS, and our action, basically this action. And now if I will do action.type, I will get increment. If I will do action.payload, I will get this. So now in switch case, what I will do is I will write case increment. This should be the same name as we have in our dispatch. And what it will do is it will return us a new object. It will always return us a new object of state. And similarly, we will do for case, not here, for case decrement, return state -1. So same thing will happen here also. So now we have the switch case ready. So now what will happen is when the dispatch will happen, it will come to the reducer. Reducer will check action.type. Sorry, it will check action.type, and then basis of action.type, it is gonna execute that particular case or function. So this is how your Redux work. Now why we are talking about it? The reason is because now if we will go back to our definition, you will see dispatch here. So what is dispatch? We already saw here that dispatch is basically your action from your React to your Redux. So we are gonna use dispatch, state we already know, and reducer. What is reducer? Reducer is brain of the Redux state management. So this is basically a switch case, collection of different logics that how your state should get updated. Whatever the logic you want to write on increment, decrement, half, reset, everything will come in your reducer. So reducer is the brain of your application. But now we understood this part, that dispatch is what, state we already know, reducer we know. But what we are getting here, so it is letting us to add a reducer to our component. What it means is that right now all these things are happening at the Redux. We are able to use dispatch, action, reducer, everything because of Redux. And as I told you, we have to do the installation. This is a third party. This is not involved in ReactJS. We have to install it. We have to learn all these things. And to be honest, I'm telling you at a very high level, if you have to do Redux part, you need to learn more than this. So this is an overhead for developer. So what React team has done is that they have introduced useReducer. Now what this useReducer will do is, this useReducer is gonna let us add this reducer, this brain, in our ReactJS only. So we can add this reducer right here. We can have dispatch also here. So now we don't need to go towards the Redux. We don't need to install anything. We don't need to care about this. Everything will be available at the React side. So our lot of learning has been reduced. Boilerplate code has been reduced. useReducer is gonna enable the developers to use reducer within our application. And the benefit of it is, apart from the performance, apart from no need of state management library, the other is that it will give a structure to your application. It will provide you a better way of state handling and writing the state management. So useReducer is a very popular ReactJS pattern also. So if your application is growing, think about useReducer pattern also. Okay. So everything will be available at the React side. So I hope now this definition is clear to you, that it is a React hood that lets you add reducer to your company, basically, to your component, basically your mini brain, and I also call it mini Redux. Okay, I call reducer as a mini Redux. Now let's jump into the code to see how this is gonna get implemented. So right now in front of you, I have a counter and I am using useState. I have added 4 methods: increment, decrement, reset, half. And you can see that these 4 methods are here. Now if my component will keep growing and I have to add square, cube, all these different methods, what will happen? These methods will keep growing, and this is not a clean approach of working in your ReactJS application for the state management. The other way, as I told you, is useReducer. So let's see how we can use useReducer here. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna import useReducer. Then I'm gonna use it here. So we know the first thing is state, then we know dispatch, and then we will have useReducer, and it will expect reducer and it expect a initial state. So as of now I will write initial state, but we don't have it right now. I will show you in a while. So now what we are gonna do is, let's create the initial state. Now what would be the initial state? So right now I have an initial state of blank object. So let me just put it here like this. This is here. Let me make it a initial state. Okay, this is a blank object as of now. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this dispatch. So from my React, whenever in my component any event is happening, I will be dispatching the action to my reducer. So first we are gonna focus on the dispatch. So this is my own on click, this is my event. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this dispatch. In this I'm gonna write type keyword and I'm gonna say increment. That's it. And the same thing I'm gonna repeat for the rest of the events like this. And here I can provide decrement. Here I will say reset, typo, reset, and half. So dispatch is ready here. So this is done. Now I need reducer. So I will go here and I will say const reducer. This will be switch case, if you remember. We just discussed this, and it will have action.type, but sorry, action.type. But where is my action? So it will come from the here, and we will also have the access of state. We need state because unless and until we don't need state, how we can update it? So now here I will say case, which is the first case. This is increment, and what it will do is it will return me a new object. So curly bracket means new object. But now why I need new object here? This is how React work. When React in state, these are objects. What it does it that it keeps checking whenever objects are coming, that if their reference, the new and old object, if their reference are same, it will treat it as the same state. Unless and until the state, the object references are different, it will not treat it as a new state. So for that we have to create a new object all the time for the state, so that this object reference will be break, and so that the moment the React will identify, oh, the new object has a different reference, then what it will do is it will under the hood start the re-rendering process. So that's why it is important to return a new object always. Now we are doing a return here, but what we wanted to do here, we wanted the state to be updated. Now how we can do the state update? So if you will see, this is state and this is blank. Now what we want is which state we are updating. So we are updating count. What is the initial state of the count, which is 0. Now here we will come and here we will say that count, make it state, this is our previous, the initial one, state dot count plus 1. Okay, so this is how we are updating, and let me write default, and it will say throw new error. Unknown. Let me keep it like this, and this reducer is now here. Now we have this state. Now once the counter is increasing, how we can read it? So for that all we need to do is state dot count. Now let me remove this and also remove this, and now you can see this is how it is looking. Now same I will do for the rest. So increment, decrement, reset, half. Here we know we need to do 2. This is reset, so what we can do is we directly say count to be 0. Here we will do -1, save it and do it like this, and this is how your component is gonna look like. This is much better because now you have a reducer where the whole brain or logic is there. You are dispatching the events from your JSX. They are going here, one place from where you can handle all this. So let's go back and see this in action. So increment is working, decrement is working. Let's go increment, reset, again do increment, half, and you can see this is working. So this is what useReducer is, and this is how you use it. The most important thing for you, once you have introduced and understood useReducer, is to understand this part, that every time you have to return a new object. I already explained you the reason, so please be very careful about it. Okay, so this was a very simple example. Now let's take it one more level above, and in this what we are gonna do is we are gonna talk about this cart. So I have already written the code, but I will delete it. We will write again together. What we are gonna do is in the cart component we are gonna add few items which we can add and remove. The thing here is sorry, we are gonna do the payload. We are gonna play with the payload. So let's start this. So const cart and export default cart, and let's come here. We will return, this is our cart. We will have two buttons here. One is for add and one is for remove. And we will copy this and we will add one more item, grapes. Same. Okay, now important thing here is right now I'm doing hard coding. When you will be building an application, you will be actually all this data will be coming from your APIs. But for today's video purpose, I'm showing you hard coded data, that how it will work. So now what we are going to do is we know that we have two events, two action, add and remove. So when we are clicking on add, apples should get added. When we are clicking on grapes, grapes should added. When we are clicking on remove, apple should remove. Same with goes with grapes. Now the thing here is very important to understand that if you will look at the counter, we were playing with only one state at that time. Here we have to be very careful that when we are clicking on grapes, apple should not get deleted. When we are adding apple, grape should not get added. So for this thing, we need the payload, which can identify that which particular item is getting added and remove. So that's why I'm showing you this example here. So now first thing is we know our actions or dispatch, which is add and remove. Perfect. Do we know how our state is gonna look? Because that's what the second thing is. So first let's import useReducer. Now let's come here, const, we know state, we know dispatch, useReducer, we will have a reducer and we will have a initial state. Now let's talk about first our initial state, how it is gonna look. So const initial state, it would be an array, no, it would be an object. In object we will have cart and it will be an array. In array our items will go. So we know our initial state. Now let's go for the dispatch. So here we are gonna do on click. What we are gonna do is dispatch. We already know the type, which is add, and we will add the payload. Now the payload would be id equals to 1, and what we can do is we can also pass the item name, which is apple, and the same we can do it here. Again, I'm repeating the same thing. Right now I'm doing hard coding, but when you are working with your APIs, this IDs will be dynamic. So add and add, here I will do remove, and here I will change the ID to grapes and grapes, sorry, grapes. Okay, so this is done, this is done. Now we need a reducer. So we will go here, we will say const reducer, and we know we need a state, we need an action. This will be our switch case, which will check action dot type, and in this we will have case. What is our first action type, which is add. So we are gonna add here, and what it will do is it will return a new object, which we are gonna write. I will also write the default. What it will do is it will throw new error, and I will say unknown action. Okay, let me remove this. I don't know what is this. Another thing I wanted to show you is the console.log state here. Okay, and let's import our cart here. Let's go to the browser, and our carts are coming. Now if I will add, you will see object is coming. This is our state. From where it is coming? It is coming from initial state. So if I will change it to Neha and I will refresh it, again click, you can see Neha is coming. If I will do one more thing like cart, like this, go back, click here, you can see it is coming. So what I'm trying to show is your state is what you are building it of. It can be collection, it is the collection of different minor states. Okay, so now let's go back, let's do it like this, cart. Okay, so add, let's start with the add. What we want to do is we want, whenever we are clicking on add in this cart, our object should get added. You might think that it is very simple why we are talking about this, but this is very important to understand that how this particular logic work, because right now our cart is blank, but what if I have few items here? We will see that in action. So first thing what I'm gonna do is, the first thing is I will return a new state. So first thing I need to do is my previous state, which is right now this blank, I will copy the value of that in my new state, And then what I will do is I will say in cart, what it should do is it should again one level down, it should again copy the state of this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write dot dot spread operator cart, and now whatever is coming in the payload should get added here. So this is how you will be updating the value. Again, what we are doing is our current state is this new object, blank object. So we are using spread operator and we have created a new object. Within that we have copied the value of that first thing. Then what we are doing is we are taking the cart, this cart, and we are saying in this take the existing value and copy it here, and then add the action dot payload whatever the item is coming, and return this new object. This is how we create new state while keeping the copy of the previous state, and then add new state here. So this is the most important part of the useReducer. Now why we are doing the copying and everything? First reason is, first we are doing this return thing. You already know, I explained you this is how ReactJS work. Also React work on immutability. We never update the existing state, we always return the new state. So that's why this will keep happening. And whenever you are returning a new state and not modifying or not changing the previous state, you need to copy all those value in the new state. That's why we are using spread operator, that we will be copying the last one and last state and putting it here. And then same thing we are doing for the cart also, so that instead of changing the previous copy, we are returning a new state here. Now let's go and check it in the action. So you can see, so first click, nothing happened, it is blank. Second click, your object got added. Second, third, and you can now see your objects are getting added. Why on our first click it is not getting added? We will get into that. But as of now, if you will see, your items are getting added. Now items are got added, but I want to see in my state. So how I can see that? So for that we are gonna do JSON dot, okay, first let me show you what will happen. So we will do state dot cart. Now you will see objects are not, this error will come. Why this error is coming? Because this is an array, this is a string array, so you cannot do it like this. So what we have to do is we have to do JSON dot stringify method, and now you can see, so now your array is coming as a string here. Now let's add. Now if you will see, when I'm clicking here, you can see your item is updated here, but in console it is coming like this. And another interesting thing I will show you, let's go to the components and let's click here, and you can see right now in reducer we have 0 item, nothing. And when I click, you can why it is not showing, let me go back, cart. So now, yeah, so you can see this is coming. Let me do it again. Let's go here, let's open it, cart is blank, add. Now you can see, so what is happening is console versus view. In your view you will always see that your state is getting updated. This is how again ReactJS work, that in your console it is always after the last update, your state in your console you will see the last state update. Let me repeat it. In your console, whenever you're clicking on a button, any state update is happening, it will always be -1 going on. What will happen is when next time your state get updated, that console will run in that re-render cycle, and then it will print. So don't worry about this console or this. On your view, everything is working as expected. You can see this. Okay, so this is how your ad is working. Now let's talk about what we have done here again. So in the first click we have no item, but now we have an item. So now what will happen here is, let's go back here, that your first item apple will be copied here, and whatever the next payload you are adding will get added here. So now let's go and see. So this is your first state. Now when I'm gonna click again, it will keep the copy of these items, and then on click the payload I'm gonna send, it will add to this. So that's why we are able to see the state. That's why it is not overwriting your new items. So please remember this. Okay, so this is done. Now for the remove one, all we need to do is, sorry, not here, this one. Remove. Now in remove we have to do the filtration. So this part will remain the same, but in the cart this array is not required. What we are gonna do is we are gonna take state.cart, we are gonna do filter on every item. So whatever the existing items we have, we will filter over that. We are not copying anything. That's why we are not using any spread operator. Whatever the items we have in right now in our cart, basically 3 apples, we are gonna filter on that. And then what we are gonna do is we are gonna check item ID. If they are not equal to action.payload.id, then it will return us here. Okay, so let's go back, let's add. Now if I will click on remove, because all the IDs are same, all apples will be gone. This is because I have created the ID, I have given the ID same. So let's do one thing, apple apple, grapes grapes. Now you can see grapes are adding 2 times, apple 2 times. If I will click on grape, grapes will go. If I will remove on apple, apple will go. So this is how your remove and add work. This is how your state work. Always remember, you need to return a new state. Please always remember that. So this is how your useReducer work. Few things I want to talk about the best practices of reducer. Right now what we have done here is we have written the reducer in the same file. Don't do this. You should create a separate file for the reducer. So what will happen is, this is the cart reducer, so you will create a cart reducer.jsx and you will have your reducer logic in that. That's the best practice. Other thing is your dispatch. In dispatch this type, I have the best practice is to add to write in uppercase and also make them strings. So instead of writing it here like this, you should be making a separate string file where all these types are there, and those can be accessible in your reducer as well as in your dispatch. The reason of this is because this will be highly they are very sensitive. If you will do a typo here, for example, if I will do a typo here, my logic will stop working. Now you can see this is stop working. So that's why, to avoid these typos or mistakes, what we need to do is we should be driving them from one file which will be accessible in your ReactJS file or component file from your string, and same goes for the reducer. There are other good practices around useReducer which I will share in a separate video. I hope this video was helpful for you. Now you are very well aware of what is useReducer, what is reducer, why we need it, and everything related to it. Before I close this video, one last thing. Is this the only solution in ReactJS for state management? No, this is not the only solution. You do have use context hook, which help you in creating the context for global state management. But useReducer is pretty well if you have seen how it is working. So it is pretty good. So think of useReducer is you can have useReducer for your local state management of components, as well as if you want a global one, then you will be doing a one component up, basically state lift, and you will move this reducer to the app. However you want to do it, you can do it. But think of useReducer, it's a better solution when your use state logic or your use state management become complex. In that case, you should use useReducer. It is a very powerful and useful coding pattern in ReactJS. With this, I will close today's video. I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any comment, anything, please let me know in the comment section, and please share in your network. As I told you, it is very highly motivating for me. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. Take care.